What's up, everybody? It is Denise Salcedo. Welcome back to the channel. I am very excited to introduce to you my guest for today. She is the babe with power, Willow Nightingale. What's up, Willow?
Hi there. Just being very excited about wrestling and where it's taken me.
Hey, that's exactly what you need to be. And that's why I was
Yeah.
even more excited to talk to you because, okay, so just let me tell you this right now. When on Friday, when I did my AEW Rampage post show, everybody in the chat was like, "Oh my God, Willow, we love Willow," and then a
Oh,
light bulb went inside my head, and I was like, "I need to get Willow on this show." I'm like, "People love her. I need to
yeah.
get her on this show, and we need to do this." So, congratulations. How are you feeling coming off of AEW Rampage?
I mean, I'm sure I would have been a lot more excited if I had won, but that was like my first time on TNT. Um, and like that alone is just amazing. I was like, family, everybody, all my friends, make sure you're tuned in.
Yes. What did they say? What did your family say to your what did they say?
I mean, mostly like just like I'm proud. This is really cool. Like really reassuring of like all the hard work that I've done so far in my life to be like, oh, cool, good things are happening. Like this wrestling pipe dream is more than
They're
more
like,
than
"Yeah,
just
she's gonna go somewhere."
yeah, like fingers crossed, right? It's like okay,
Yeah.
things are coming into fruition, hopefully. So yeah, it was really cool to be able to share that moment with my family and have my 10-year high school reunion coming up. So that'll be a cool flex.
Oh my God, that's gonna be so amazing because you're probably gonna show up to your reunion and people are gonna be like, "Willow, you're killing it." Like you just know there's gonna be a bunch of wrestling fans there.
Oh yeah, it'll be awesome.
Did your high school friends already know during that time that you were gonna be pursuing wrestling, or is this gonna be like new for them?
Like my close friends have I've been friends with some people since I was in like second grade, seventh, eighth, ninth grade. So my group of friends outside of wrestling has remained more or less the same people. So they've been to like my indie shows and like seen me get hurt and recover and all this stuff and been there with me the whole time and very supportive. I'm sure there are people who've like seen me on Instagram and like, what's this girl doing? Uh, but more or less, people have been really positive and like super with it and encouraging. So I consider myself really fortunate in that sense.
That is so cool. That's one of the things that I wanted to touch on with you in regards to this because when you came out on Rampage and like I mentioned, everybody was like, "Woo, Willow," and just really putting you over. And a lot of people were saying like you have like a very like infectious like energy that people just like gravitates towards you. And one of the things that I said was like you're just a very likable person, and it's not everybody has that, but you do. So I kind of want to get your how you felt, seeing all of the online feedback. There was a lot of positivity out there. Your name was trending. How did you feel?
It's really surreal, right? Because for someone like me who's been a wrestling fan for so long, who's been doing indie wrestling for like how many ever years, um, it kind of seems like this is something that's attainable. It's possible. One day this could be your reality, and then to just kind of have like that much buzz hit you at once, it's like you hear the phrase like an overnight success doesn't happen overnight, right? Like I think the reason so many people were happy to see me is because I have accumulated this fan base over like a certain amount of time. Like for me, I've been wrestling 7 years. So for 7 years, people have been like, "Oh, she's cool. She's got something." And you always hear like, "Your time is coming. Your time is coming," and you're like, "I don't know. Like, when is it though? Because I don't know."
Everybody says the same thing, don't they? They say keep doing what you're doing, and you're like, what does that mean?
Yeah, but I have a hard time like being deterred. This is like something I'm passionate about. I've always loved wrestling, so it's a lot easier to just keep doing it when your heart's in it.
Exactly, exactly. And now here's the thing that I also want to ask you because this was, I believe, your ninth AEW match, if I'm correct. So you've wrestled quite a few matches on AEW Dark and Dark Elevation. So
Mhm.
what kind of feedback have you gotten from those in AEW in regards to how you're doing?
So for me, even the first time I went, I considered myself to be in a pretty good position because a lot of the women in the locker room I had already worked with or I had known. So it wasn't as awkward walking in as someone who's like, I don't know a single person here. So there was already a level of like comfortability. I remember Dustin Rhodes when I did my first match against Thunder Rosa was like, "Are you any good?" I was like before
Before the
the match.
match, though, before the
And
match,
I was
right?
like, yeah, before the match. And I was
Okay.
like, I mean, I hope so. I
I was gonna
was
say, what
like,
do you say
you
to
tell
that?
me. Yeah. So there's definitely been like growth between the people in charge, and like I've always gotten like feedback that's more or less positive. Um but every single like crumb of information they would give me, like try to do this better, or like, try and do this, like try this move, and just like, okay, I'm going to come back and next time hopefully you won't have anything to say, or like that won't be a problem again, and just constantly improve. And that's really the story of like being a wrestler or a person in life, right? Like ultimately, I'm not going to have 100% of the things down. I'm not going to be the perfect wrestler from the time I show up. But if I can wake up every day and try to be better and do better and be better than the last time you saw me, whew, I'm on the right track, baby. So it's been paying off over those 9 matches, to kind of have each match be a little better than the last time.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, because Dark Elevation, I feel offers people an opportunity just to like, grow some more. I remember I was talking with Kylan King, and one of the things that she told me, she was like, from the moment I stepped in there to like now, she's like, I've, grown in every single aspect, developed my skills. So I kind of want to, pick your brain a little bit on how you feel, these matches on Dark Elevation have sort of helped you, grow or, become a stronger wrestler.
So wrestling for a company like AEW or even Ring of Honor, because I had wrestled for Ring of Honor before the like change in guard and all that. Um, it's different because while you are wrestling for the audience that is there, you have to think about the scope that the match will reach beyond. Um, and that exists in indie wrestling too, with like IWTV, Fight TV, High Spots, and all that stuff. Like there are going to be people who are going to watch it, but not as on a grand scale. Like that audience is huge. And indie wrestling, it's very like, we want to make this a nice intimate setting. It's very like the people here, you want to keep them engaged. So you want to carry that over when you're working in this setting. But you also have to think like there are cameras. What is like all these other like figure cues, and like, is this person hearing me? Is commentary like helping me out? Are they like helping enhance, all this stuff comes into your mind. So it's really just kind of like leveling up the playing field and taking more into consideration.
That is so cool. And there's just like there's so much that goes into, producing like, going in there and having like a television match. And that's the cool thing. Like one of the things that I've gotten to, see behind the scenes. And so when you mention this as, a performer, it is things that you need to be like aware of, which is really cool because you kind of have like a lot going on at once. So that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. So now you mentioned Ring of Honor, and obviously that's something that I do want to circle on because that's where we got to, chat and get to kind of get like really quickly. It was like we were so busy. Like everybody was like, trying to find their footing there and whatnot. But
That's show day. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. How did you feel about your match with Mercedes Martinez, and how did the whole opportunity come about? Considering that you were wrestling with Ring of Honor prior, you were at Final Battle, and then to have the news of Tony Khan purchasing Ring of Honor, and then hey, you're on the show. How did this all come about?
I mean, it was wild because for me, from the time I started, Ring of Honor was a goal, right? Like I had been a fan even before I started training, so it's like cool. Like women I admire and appreciate have wrestled here. Sarah Del Rey, Daisy Hayes kind of really set that groundwork for like the honor in women's wrestling. So honoring my craft has been something that's been in my head for a long time, and when I finally had the opportunity to work for Ring of Honor and work with Maria Kanellis, it was just like, this is a dream come true, right? Like, this is cool. And she really took charge of making sure the women were taken care of, that we were really being given like the time to tell our stories, to show the hard work that we put in and have that spotlight on us. So when things switched over, I was kind of like, I don't know what's next, just like everyone at home. Like I was sitting at the table with my boyfriend watching TV when Tony Khan announced that he now owns Ring of Honor. So I was like, I don't know what this means for me. I have no idea. Like I was waiting to see what was next, like everybody else. But I would say maybe like a couple weeks ahead of Supercard of Honor, he reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to do the show. And I was like, obviously, yes, please, thank you. Let's figure this out. Let's get it set up. And when I found out I was wrestling Mercedes, it was like, okay, so um, this is like could potentially be like a career making match, right? Like that's a spotlight that is now already elevated from what I was doing before. But now I'm wrestling like Mercedes, who in my mind is one, a big role model. Like I've done seminars of hers before. Like I've been like, let me pick your brain and try and learn from you. So to work with her, I was like, all right, got to get my work boots on, put on my big girl pants, and just make this happen. So it was just like really, to me, it was like it's time to step your game up. And there are things I'm really happy with. There are things that I like wish had kind of gone over a little bit differently, which is pretty much how I feel about every match, though, honestly.
Of
Um,
course.
but at the end of it, I was pretty happy with it. Even just being in the ring with Mercedes, it's like learning through osmosis. It's just like, okay, you're so great. Thank you. Cool. So, like, being in this environment where I'm now constantly around people at AW, all the times that I've been there, it's just like, again, leveling up every single time. So it was just, I wasn't trying to take that for granted. I wasn't taking the opportunity lightly.
I think that's really cool because like you mentioned, you're on there, you're watching, you're watching the TV, this announcement is made and you're wondering like, oh, like what does this mean? Like, will this impact my life in any sort of way? And then lo and behold, you're on the first show back. And that's the thing too, is that this, the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor show that really had, I think, like the most momentum, especially
Yeah.
considering that day that was like literally stacked with so many shows. But everybody was like, I put up a tweet asking people like what shows they were gonna make sure to watch this weekend. Everybody was like, Supercard of Honor, Supercard of Honor, Supercard of Honor. And I was like, hell yeah, like this is great. So, you kind of mentioned leveling up. Do you feel that right now, with your the buzz that you're getting off of the Rampage match, the buzz from the Ring of Honor, on top of all of the work that you've put in, do you feel like this is the point in your career where you're starting to feel like you're stepping into that next level?
Yeah. I think anytime there are more eyes on you, there is a little bit more pressure. And even though there's all this positive feedback that I'm getting, it's like obviously I'm a human. I'm aware that criticism also comes with that. So being in that position, instead of letting myself like crumble and falter with that, it's just like, okay, I have to demand more from myself. I know the work that I have to do. So the really only thing to do is do it now. So that's the plan.
Do you pay attention to that criticism? Like, obviously as a wrestler, you're going to have to deal with like, people criticizing you on Twitter, people criticizing you on YouTube and different places. Or are you good at just like going, "Oh, whatever, I'm just going to ignore that?"
It's a little in between. Like there are some things that you hear enough about yourself that you're like, okay, I understand that you think this is an issue or whatever. But I've learned to let that roll off my back. Like there are certain things that I'm just like, I'm self-aware. I'm a wrestler. Obviously, I know I don't have like the body type of like a lot of other wrestlers. So if you're gonna come at me for that, it is what it is, right? I get it. Like at the end of the day, if my wrestling isn't for you, that's okay. I make wrestling for people, for everyone, yes, but like mostly for like Black people, Black women, for children. I love to see the joy in like young girls' faces when I wrestle. For like queer people, I want to be like the English teacher of wrestling. Like if you feel like you're maybe not like fitting in with everybody else, like I want to be the person that's like, listen, there's space for all of us to enjoy this, and I'll be the face for that, hopefully.
So I was curious as to like how you deal with that in the way where you're just like, you know what, like this is who I am and I'm not going to let like anybody change that?
So ultimately for me, the most important thing is if I can wrestle a match, and I am able to honestly put my best foot forward, and I'm working on constantly being a better in-ring performer, that's all that matters. Some places when I wrestle there, they let me do like a weight announcement. Some places don't. But when they do, I like to say weighing in at exactly the right amount. Uh, I
I love that.
honestly, I got it from like the musical Kinky Boots. But it's like a number that changes all the time for me personally. So really the most important thing is like about my body is like it's a vessel for me to perform, right? And you can
Yes.
have whatever kind of like opinion you want about it. That's your business. That's not my business. My business is that I'm a professional wrestler and I can do my job. So that's really where I stand on that. And if there are people who are watching and are inspired by me because I don't look like everybody else, that's even better. I didn't like set out when I started wrestling to really inspire people. But the more that I've done it, I've realized that I have. So I own it. and I say, hey, if you need me to be there for you, I'm going to keep doing me.
Exactly, and that's what like, part of the reasons why I feel like you have like, when you come out and you have like this like very fun presence and you're excited to be there and you could legitimately tell that and you can read that in your face. But like it's the whole thing, like for me, it's like, as a wrestling fan, especially as a female wrestling fan, it's almost like I'm not watching because I want to see, the picture perfect Barbie doll out there. I'm watching because I want to see badass women go in there and kick some freaking ass. Like that to
Don't
me is
you
what's
know
it's
it, Denise?
inspiring. Like that's what's inspiring. And there's so many times where, I'm reviewing shows and I'm talking about some of the characters and I'm like, this is not a character for women. Like, we need like strong women out there. That is a character for women. That is what young girls look up to. That is, what gravitated me as a young fan. And I'm sure you as a young fan as well.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not a shot at anybody who does consider themselves to be like that kind of person, or like um more power to you. Like, but for me, it's just like I didn't fit in with that. I'm like not, I don't feel empowered by like being overtly sexual or anything, which is like totally cool if you do. It's just like that was never my lane. And I'm not gonna try to be something I'm not. Right. There's no use in that for me. I have seen the most success in being authentically myself. And it works for me because I'll just get a little hang out, just be me and not have to apologize for it. And I think that's beautiful.
No,
Life
that
is too
definitely
short to
is.
try to be somebody else.
Exactly, exactly. I 100% agree with you. Be yourself, and that's like the only thing that you can be. So Willow, I do want to ask you too, because we were talking about Ring of Honor, we're talking about AEW. Have there been conversations to any conversations in terms of what your future with Ring of Honor and AEW might be?
It's looking positive. I don't have anything solid that I can tell anyone right now. But things are looking good. Again, I've wrestled there 9 times, as you said. I've had 9 matches there so far. And there were definitely moments on that journey where I was like, what is going on? Moments of frustration. But especially the last couple weeks, I've really been reaffirmed and like, okay, just trust the process, keep going. So yeah, we'll stay on this journey with me, folks. Let's see what happens next.
Exactly. I read somewhere there was this quote, and I don't remember it exactly the way that it probably is, but it was something along the lines of, you're where you're supposed to be. Like, you wouldn't be here like if this isn't where you're meant to be. And I think that's one of the things, especially as performers, you have like so many ups and so many downs, and like life is a roller coaster, and so many outside decisions and can impact you and your life. But it was this one, like that one quote, and I was like, I don't know why, but it's so simple, yet it makes so much sense. You're where you're supposed
Yeah.
to be. I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, so now I do want to rewind a little bit. We've talked about Ring of Honor, we talked about AEW, and more of like the recent stuff, but I do want to rewind and kind of talk a little bit about how you kind of got involved in this like unconventional world of pro wrestling and how you decided like, hey, I'm going to pursue this career and become a pro wrestler.
So I have been a fan since I was maybe like 8 or 9 years old, right? Like I used to play video games with my cousins, and I was like, this is really cool. Why am I not watching wrestling? So I started watching wrestling. Um, Completely kind of like, I guess, changed my life. I never like think of it that way, but it really did change my life. Because at that point I was hooked. I was like big fan. I wanted to go to whatever show would be in my area. I would like go to school in wrestling t-shirts. I became like the wrestling girl. Um, and like a little bit of my love died down when I was in high school, just because like nobody else was really into it, and teenagers get into whatever teenage things. Um, and I went to college. I went to Northeastern University, which was in Boston, and I went there for a year. And that's kind of when my love for wrestling like really started picking up again, because a girl in my dorm room, Grace, was like, I want to watch this show. I can't pay for it by myself. So does anyone want to split it? I was like, I'm going to split it with you. So we watched WrestleMania, I think it was 29. And I was like, that's it. I'm hooked. I love wrestling again. I was like getting really into like Joshi wrestling at this time. This is kind of when I discovered Ring of Honor and other women in independent wrestling. Shimmer was like a big thing for me. Shimmer was like a huge inspiration. And I was like, I'm just going to become a wrestler. I'm just going to do it. College didn't work out for me. Like financially, it was really hard. So I was like, we're just going to take a leap of faith and see what happens. And from the time I started wrestling, it wasn't like the thing I was like, I'm going to try this out. I started wrestling and I was like, this is what I do now. I am a wrestler. Um, that was in 2014 that I started training, and I really haven't looked back since. I'm pretty fortunate that things have been just getting better every year.
It's kind of wild though when you think about like moments that happen. Like this girl wanted to watch the show and you're like, yeah, let's watch it. All right, cool. And then that
Yeah.
ended up leading to like changing your entire life and your life's trajectory. So, I gotta ask because you're in college and then you're, going in, you leave that and you decide to be a wrestler. What was your family's reaction where it's like you're leaving this like sure thing of
Whew.
school to going and becoming a wrestler? And I know that parents must see it as like, circus performing or God knows what they see it as. They don't see it as a viable career, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, the big thing was like my parents were like, "We can't tell you what to do. You're legally an adult. If you can get yourself to wrestling training and back and you're paying for it and you're the one who's like taking all the steps to make it happen, so be it." At the time, I didn't have my driver's license, and I live on Long Island. So I was living closer to Queens, and where I was training, NYWC, is out in Deer Park. So it's about a 40-minute drive from where I was living, but I used to take the train. Again, didn't have a car, so I couldn't even take my car to the train station. So I would hop on my bike from my house to the train station, take my bike on the train, take the train, get off, bike to the school. So I was doing this for like a couple months. Eventually, like the dudes over at NYWC were like, listen, you're a family now. We'll pick you up from the train station and bring you here. So you don't have to keep biking. And like it's late at night. It's not like necessarily the best area for, like a 20-year-old girl to be riding her bike alone at night. So they started picking me up. And then eventually my mom was like, okay, you've made these sacrifices. I can see you're serious about this. I'll drive you to and from the train station. Um, so I was really just kind of like, I'll make it happen. Whatever I have to do, it's going to happen, you know?
That is so awesome. I love that your mom was like, okay, she's shown herself, she's proven herself. Now I'm gonna go ahead and help her out. And that's a good thing though, because sometimes parents will be like, is this a whim? Is she risking her entire career on a whim? You never really know what is going through your child's mind. So I think that is so awesome. So with that being said, you're out there, you're doing your thing, you're training, etc. Now we obviously know that it's tough to become a pro wrestler, right? But on top of that,
Yes.
you have the added addition of being a woman and not necessarily being too many spots on shows for women. So for you, what was that journey like, and what would you say were some of like the biggest obstacles that you faced trying to get trying to basically get your name out there?
I made a plan. Um, Essentially, when I was wrestling, I wanted to model my career after the women I looked up to. Um, so for me, that was Mercedes Martinez, as I mentioned, Lufisto, and Sarah Del Rey. More or less, these are the people that I wanted to kind of have a career modeled after. Um, and for me, that was going to Beyond Wrestling. That was like a huge step for me. Is like I want to wrestle at Beyond Wrestling because that is where intergender wrestling lives. And around the time that I started, there was also like WWR, so I found myself there. I wanted to wrestle for Chikara because Sarah Del Rey had like a huge tenure there. Ring of Honor was on that list. Basically, I was just like, wherever y'all have wrestled is where I want to wrestle. That's the path I have to take. Um, and of course, there's like a lot of waiting and like, all right, it's not just going to happen. Like, I'm not just going to reach out and one day they're going to be like, yeah, come along. But I think having that in my head that like eventually I will meet my goal. Like, if I just keep going and keep doing it, eventually I will meet my goal. And that's really kind of been my motto and my mindset throughout my whole journey so far. I imagine it will be moving forward to help get me to like whatever next steps I want to hit. Um, but really, it's just been like grind it out. If you're wrestling in front of 12 people, right? Because starting out, that is how it is sometimes. You'll go to a show and you'll wrestle in front of 12 people. It could be a little disheartening, but like to 10-year-old me, the fact that anybody is watching me wrestle is like mind blowing. So it was constantly remembering that. And it was not wrestling for people who didn't want me, right? Like, if you want me to change who I am or behave like this or do this, then it's just not a good fit. And I just have to cut my losses with some companies. Um, So that
Did
was
you face
really
that a lot? Was that a thing, like, where people were trying to, like, adjust you, change you, that mold you into something else?
honestly, for me, not too much. I'm very lucky to have been wrestling in the time that I am. That's not to say that there's more progress that needs to be made. But I do realize that I have a certain amount of privilege, right? Like even as like a black woman, I'm light skinned, I'm mixed. So I'm not gonna face the same obstacles like a dark skinned woman might. I recognize that I have made friends or like had good connections from the time I started. If you're telling me here that I'm likable, like I guess maybe that's kind of worked in my favor this whole time. Um, but I think my biggest obstacle really had been more than anything my weight and just kind of like in the beginning, kind of learning how to deal with that criticism and really just being like, okay, do your best, if that makes sense.
Oh, no, I get it. I think, like, regardless, like, everybody has, like, some sort of obstacle that they're trying to get through, whether, there's just so many things that, like, not everyone's path is just like a clear cut path, right? It's just that we all go through different obstacles that we have to face, and it's just a part of life. But you get through it and you do it and you get there. And if you keep working hard, you eventually, see those rewards and whatnot. So with all of that being said, I do want to ask you too, because I know you mentioned Lufisto, you mentioned Mercedes Martinez. You've mentioned quite a few people. I kind of want to get an idea of who's been somebody that has sort of been like this, like, a positive voice to like give you a lot of, feedback, advice, any sort of mentorship to help you out with your career.
I mean, first and foremost, my boyfriend is always a huge inspiration. Rex Lawless. He's also a wrestler. So, to be so close and intimate with me and like know every single like detail about my journey. He's been there for that. In the past couple of years, actually, like Chris Dickinson is a really good friend of mine. So he would watch my matches and give me feedback. And like, I'm a very like cute, cuddly kind of person. That's my presentation as a character. But he's really helped me kind of like lean into that intensity and like more aggression and just like how to kind of like get around the ring better. So I guess those two have been a big help.
You're like, I'm cute, I'm cuddly, but I will also kill you if I need
Oh,
to.
yeah.
Exactly. I love that. No, Chris Dickinson's a great guy, really nice. I got to chat with him a couple of times at GCW, which was really nice, and he had nothing but nice things to say about me, and it always stuck in here. Because when someone says something nice, because there's a lot of times where people don't tell you anything, like you don't know how people feel about you, and then
Yeah.
somebody gives you a compliment, you're like, thank you so much. I didn't know
Yeah,
anybody felt that way. It's a very nice thing to, hear a compliment every now and then.
yeah. You're a delight,
um,
by the way. While we're on the
thank
topic,
you.
you're a delight.
Okay, good, good, good. Well, so are you. Awesome. So now I do want to go ahead and I want to ask you a question. And in terms of, we kind of mentioned your career, kind of leveling up, you're going into this new, portion of your career. With that being said, there are new people discovering you. There are new people that are getting to know you. What do you want people to know about you?
Um, I guess the most important part of Willow Nightingale is that we all see the smiles and we all see the sunshine. But the only reason that that exists is because I am aware of the fact that life is very hard. We waking up every day in the world that we do, where there's constant war, whether that be physical war or war on people's rights, right? Like we're seeing transgender people now getting these rights they've worked so hard for, and like their medical care being stripped away from them. We're seeing queer people, gay kids, like being told, like, "Hey, it's not cool to be yourself." Um, all these different things in life are just like very heartbreaking, and it's hard to wake up every day and say, all right, I'm gonna put my shoes on, I'm gonna go outside, I'm gonna be an adult, I'm gonna do what I have to do. um, but if I can smile through that and savor the good moments in life and look around at all the beautiful things that are out today, is a beautiful day outside, the sun is shining, right? Personally, I get closer and closer to living my dream every day. Like that's something to celebrate. So I come to the ring and I want to focus and celebrate those things and highlight that in life. Because even when you're going through your darkest days, like there's still good ahead, there's still hope ahead. So more than anything, I want that to be the takeaway.
Oh, I love it. I love you. Inspired me right now. When you said it's a good day, I was like, I need to open these blinds. I need to go
Yeah,
outside.
go look outside. Get some vitamin D.
I need to get some sun. And then also before we move into our last and final portion of this interview, I do want to ask you, what are your goals for 2022?
I really would love to wrestle internationally. I've only ever wrestled in the United States and Canada, our neighbor up north. Japan has always been a huge goal of mine. For the past couple of months, I've been wrestling like full time. Like I don't have another job. So if I could just make it through the rest of the year like that, that is a huge accomplishment for me. Yeah, those are really like my main goals.
Those are good goals because not everybody can have the, it takes a long time to get to that point, where
Oh,
you could just
absolutely.
stick to the wrestling and not have to have, these bonus jobs and all of that. No, I get it, man. Those are good goals. So let's go ahead and jump into our last and final portion of this interview. I'm going to ask you 10 very random questions. You answer them however you please, or just a good way to get to know you just a little bit more. So
All
here
right.
we go. Question number 1. When you're not wrestling, how do you spend your time off?
A lot of the things I spend time doing outside of wrestling involve wrestling or are related to wrestling, but I recently got into bouldering, which is like rock climbing indoors on the walls without like the
I
harnesses
saw
or
one of
whatever.
your videos. Yeah.
Yeah, so I recently got into that, and that's like my big hobby that has nothing to do with wrestling because everything else pretty much goes back to wrestling in one way or another. So bouldering it is.
What's your skill level like in bouldering? Are you like really good at it? Are you
Not
still
good.
struggling?
No. It's not good. I've really only been doing it for like a month or so. The part that I'm really good at is falling. I've got good mobility, but my grip strength is not there yet. So I have to use like the full easy like level 1 paths. You see people who are like climbing and they just like put like their finger on like this and they're like holding their whole bodies like this. And I'm like, how? But I'll get there. Again,
Oh
back to my lesson of like just keep doing it. You'll get there eventually.
Hey, next thing you know, you're gonna be out like in the mountains climbing.
Oh,
You're gonna be
yeah.
so
Oh, yeah.
advanced. You're gonna be like, yes, documentary. I don't know. That's really cool. I love that because it's not an easy thing to do. I've tried it and I get like just a couple feet up and I'm like, nope, that's it, coming back down. Question number 2. Who's been the opponent that you've wrestled that you couldn't believe you were in the ring with?
Oh, wow. Okay. This is a great question. And I don't know that I have an answer for it right now. This might take some deep digging. Mercedes is like the first person that comes to mind because it's so fresh, but it wasn't at Ring of Honor because that was my second time I wrestled her. The first time I wrestled her, I think was even more like a mind-blowing experience because it was my debut for Shimmer, which was a huge goal of me from the beginning. And then it was my first time wrestling someone who I personally considered like one of my role models. So that was like, at that time was like, that was insane. Yeah.
That's really cool though. I love that. That's really cool. Question number 3. What was the first and last concert you've been to?
So the first concert that I went to was actually an ABBA concert.
Oh,
I'm not sure if it was like the actual ABBA. I don't think it was.
Or
It was
like
probably
a-
like a tribute band or something.
Right.
But my mom took me when I was 12. So I didn't really know what was going on. I was just like, sure, Mamma Mia, Dancing Queen, let's do it.
I was gonna say, I
And
was like, I don't know like what their like time thingy is. So I'm thinking maybe tribute band, who knows?
yeah, probably. But in my head for years, I was like, it's the actual ABBA.
Hey, you know what? If you say it is, let's just go with it.
That's what my heart believes. Still real to me. And the last one I went to, I honestly can't remember. I think the last show that I went to was Sad Summer Fest in 2019.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
I don't have a lot of time for concerts these days. But I really want to see Phoebe Bridgers. I think she's going to be around me in May. So maybe I can make that happen.
Yeah,
That would
she's definitely like an up and like I don't know if up and comer is the right word, but more I feel like I just discovered her this year, so maybe she's an up and comer to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a mainstream level, she's really like starting to make waves now.
Yes. Yes, that's
Yeah.
more better explained. I feel you on that one. Question number 4, do you have any pets?
Yes, I have a tuxedo cat named Salvatore. He is big and fantastic, and he's sassy and he talks a lot. But I love cats. So
Aw, it's so cute. It's so cute. Question number 5, what is your all-time favorite movie?
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Nice.
It's
Uh,
a
c
weird one, but
no, I've never seen it, but I've, like, heard so much about it. I've heard so much about it, and I've always been, like, wanting to watch it, just never got the opportunity.
yeah, it's you what you have to do is you have to go see like the shadow cast. If you go to like a theater that will play it on the screen and then they'll have like a cast reenacting it on the floor, that is really like the experience to see it because it's a weird movie, um, but it's like a cult favorite.
I love that. Sounds like a good night out. Question number 6, what always makes you laugh?
I think you should leave, which is a sketch comedy show on Netflix with Tim Robinson. It is like the funniest thing in the world to me.
I'll have to
Yeah.
check that out. I'll check that out. Question number 7, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm definitely an introvert. Wrestling has definitely helped me become more outgoing. I don't have a problem being social, but I'm more reserved when you first meet me. Like it takes a little while to get me to break out of my shell.
I feel you. I feel you. Question number 8, who's your favorite person to travel with?
Um, in wrestling, I really love traveling with my boyfriend Rex Lawless, or my buddy Edith Surreal. Um, but my little sister Noelle is like my best friend. I would travel the world with her as well as
Aw,
those other two who I mentioned.
that's so sweet. I love that. I love that so much. Question number 9, who's the person or persons you want to wrestle the most?
Ooh, okay. Um, Also a great question. I really want to wrestle Mia Yim. It is happening.
Mm.
So that is someone who like has been on my wish list for like a super long time. Uh, that's happening, and I'd also really love to have a rematch with Lufisto. That's someone else that I wrestled like years ago, and now I'm a completely different person in ring. So I'd really love to do that.
Oh, that sounds like really good ones too. Especially, I would love to see you in there with Lufisto because I feel like you mentioned, like, when you got to wrestle her first, you were a different performer, and now you're, a different performer. I think that's like really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. And question number 10, tell us something random about yourself.
Bo, 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 bo. Um, I used to wear like healing crystals in my bra when I would wrestle. I don't anymore because I would always like get changed after my matches and they'd fall out and break. But for like a couple of years, it was like my good luck thing was like, gotta put in my black tourmaline, gotta put in my like rose quartz, get a little self love, protect your energy. But that was like something I might bring back, but I used to
Was
do
it
it all the time.
comfortable though to have them in there?
It was like fine. Like I would put it like kind of at the side where it wouldn't really bother me, and I would get those ones that are rounded so they don't have the sharp edges. You know,
Oh,
that would
okay,
that would be
okay.
a different thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're like in there carrying all of these like rocks and
Like
stones and
being
things.
stabbed.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't even handle those bras with like the wires
Oh
where
my
like they
god,
stick out.
I
I
hate
got into the point where I just
underwires.
like yank them out. I'm like, I'm done with
Yeah,
you.
if I can wear a sports bra, I will wear a sports bra.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Alrighty, Willow. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. Before we go, please let the people know where they can find you, where they can follow you, where they can support you.
Absolutely. So on Twitter and Instagram, my handle is at Willow Wrestles. I use those two the most. Really, any other kind of information you would want to know to follow up to get merch or whatever would be on my Twitter. I recently got on Celeb VM, so if you wanted like a personalized video message, you can head there. I'm considering doing like a brand army Patreon thing. In the past, I have been terrible at keeping up with it. I also don't really know like what content people want. Like I said, I'm not like a big like photo shoot person.
You gotta test the water, see what you like, see
Yeah.
what works, see what people are willing to pay for
Yeah.
too. So
Let
like,
me
test
know
the
what you want to
waters.
see, people. I don't know.
I can no lie. I want to see more bouldering videos. Like, I think that's
That's
super
it.
cool.
That's it. That's what I gotta do.
I love it. Well, Willow, I'm going to make sure to put all of those links in the description box below. So everybody watching here, if you guys want to follow Willow, show her some love, all of the links are going to be in the description box below. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, please. There's lots more content to come. Other than that, I'm Denise Salcedo. This is Willow Nightingale. We'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.